Hey, what's up, guys? You're listening to the Airtime Misfits podcast. I'm your host, Adam, alongside Nick.
How's it going?
We got a fun episode for you today. In this episode, we wanted to express our appreciation for a certain aero coaster located at Worlds of Fun, and that ride is called Orient Express.
So get ready and we'll karate chop you into the next episode.
That's right. All right, stick around.
Orient Express. This was a very unique aerial coaster in that it was one of three with the signature interlocking loops. And at the time it was built, I believe it was the second one.
Yeah.
The other two being Loch Ness Monster, obviously, and then Lightning Loops at Six Flags Great Adventure. And I guess they both came before Orient Express. Orient Express was the last of its breed, but
Yeah.
it was yeah.
According to Wikipedia, even though Lightning Loops and Loch Ness Monster opened before Orient Express, this is considered the second full circuit coaster to feature interlocking loops.
That's right.
Lightning Loops was like two shuttle coasters.
That's right. Okay,
Yeah.
I knew there. Yeah, I forgot about Lightning Loops not being full circuit. Okay,
So as far as full circuit coasters go, Loch Ness
this was the second one.
was one. Orient Express was two. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. That's what I thought I read.
Yeah.
The whole full circuit thing just kind of gets me sometimes.
Oh yeah. That's
but
like
you never
always
think
a
about
little
a coaster not
asterisk
being.
thing.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
So it was built and it actually premiered April 4th of 1980 with a closing date of October 26, 2003. Very short life for a Nero.
Yeah, I mean, 23 years. If you watch the POV, which I did before we did this video, I watched the POV from the mid 90s and then one from 2002, and you could tell the ride was painful from the
Yes.
video. So
Sure.
23 years for a coaster isn't that long, but it seemed like this coaster, the way it was designed, it was not built to last. It's for comfort wise, anyways.
Yeah. And it makes me just wonder, what did Busch Gardens do to have Loch Ness Monster, which I find honestly a very smooth aero.
Oh, me too. I agree. I don't. Yeah, that's a good question. I don't know what it is because Loch Ness Monster is great. It's and usually I don't. I'm not a huge fan of these aero multi-looping coasters like this. Like Vortex at Kings Island. I wasn't a huge fan of. Shockwave at Great America, Six Flags. I wasn't a big fan of. But Loch Ness Monster, I love it. I think it's great.
Oh yeah.
I don't. Yeah, I don't know what the difference is. I don't know what Busch Gardens does to keep Loch Ness running at tip-top shape. I don't know if it's the design of the coaster that that makes the difference. I'm not sure.
Yeah, because you do wonder because it's almost as if a lot of those like 70s aero coasters, for example, pick your corkscrew model,
Right. Yeah.
and then you got Loch Ness Monster, like those, not that they're always in the smoothest shape, but they are still up and running. And you have the 80s where you got your Vortex, Orient Express, those types of coasters,
Like Great
where
American Scream Machine.
Great American Scream Machine,
Yeah.
yeah. Though the 80s era aero coasters are kind of phasing out if they haven't already, and I'm curious if that's just a coincidence or if it's something to do.
Well, it seems like they really pushed the envelope, in the 80s with these coasters. They were taller, they were faster, more inversions. I think that probably has a lot to do with why, like, your typical corkscrew is still sticking around because that features, maybe 3 inversions tops. It's a pretty simple layout. Whereas, rides like Great American Scream Machine, which is now removed, Shockwave, which is removed,
Yeah.
Viper at Magic Mountain is still standing, but who knows how long that will stand. I mean, those are not the most comfortable coasters. You have the over-the-shoulder restraints, which, in my opinion, suck. And the modern day B&Ms and Intamins, they're so comfortable, and they're far superior, in my opinion, to those coasters. I think that's why a lot of those old, like, multi-looping 80s aero coasters are being removed.
Yeah, and I'm curious. Yeah, because I definitely agree. I mean, they definitely tried to, I guess, push the envelope to kind of
Yeah.
wow the GP in the
Right.
80s.
Yeah. And I'm sure it definitely works back then, because at the time I mean, those things were pretty incredible, and there wasn't much to compare it to.
And you wonder, obviously this would have been before our time. The year that these coasters came out, like, were they smooth at one point? Were they only smooth for a year or two?
Yeah, and I also, yeah, that's a good question. Were they? I'm assuming when they opened, they were smoother than they are now, but I
You
would
would think.
imagine that they were still a bit uncomfortable. But I guess at the time, if you didn't really have anything to compare it to,
Right.
maybe you
That's
didn't
true.
know any better. Like, maybe you didn't know it could be more comfortable if
That's a good point.
thinking, if it was compared to a modern day, a B&M inverting coaster or something like that. But yeah, maybe they
Yeah.
just didn't know any better.
Yeah, maybe they just maybe people were blissfully ignorant, and now we're graced with the wonders of RMC and
Right.
B&M and all these real butter smooth coasters.
I know.
Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, so I'm curious if you are somebody that was around in the 80s to ride Orient Express. Let us know. Was it smooth? We're curious. We
Yeah.
never got to ride this one, so
Right. But like we were saying, the Loch Ness Monster is still incredibly smooth. So
yeah, it's so
maybe,
smooth.
who
And
knows?
unpopular opinion, but I really like both Demon coasters at
Oh
both Great
yeah.
Americas. I mean, such a fun ride.
Yeah, those
Yeah.
are good coasters. I think I'd much rather ride something like that than,
Mhm.
yeah, Shockwave when it was at Great America. I'd much
Oh
rather
yeah.
ride Demon.
Yeah. I see. I never got to ride Shockwave, but I've ridden Viper. I've ridden Vortex, so I can only imagine just kind of the
Right.
what you had to endure to
Oh
ride.
man, it was rough.
So just some stats real quick about Orient Express. It was fairly impressive for its time, I would imagine. 117 feet was the height. The drop was 115. The speed was 50 with 4 inversions. You had 2 loops, obviously, and you had a batwing. So that batwing counted as 2 inversions
Yeah, and
alone. So,
another fun fact is this coaster was the first to have that batwing, which at the time they called it the
yes.
Kamikaze Curve, also
Yeah,
known
that's
as
right.
the boomerang.
Okay.
So, and that is a really cool element, that the boomerang element, or what's it called? The batwing. Yeah. I mean, it's really
Yeah, yeah.
cool because Vortex had one. I think does Montu have one at Busch Gardens,
Yes.
Tampa? I think it does. It's a really great looking inversion. So for this coaster to be the first one to feature one and have such a cool name like Kamikaze Curve, that's pretty cool.
That was very cool.
I mean, yeah,
Um,
like at the time when this opened, it being like, one of 3 coasters with interlocking loops, having the first Kamikaze Curve element, it's pretty impressive.
Yeah, and especially for a park such as Worlds of Fun, which really didn't have a whole lot in the way of coasters at the time. There was Zambezi Zinger, which opened
Okay.
in
Yep.
1983 or 1973. Sorry,
Yep. Which is now defunct.
that is defunct.
Yeah.
Shush Bomber. It
Okay.
looks like it's just that's just a Schwarzkopf Wildcat. Uh,
Okay.
Odd name for a
Yeah.
Schwarzkopf. Not joking.
I like,
Extreme Roller.
okay.
So yeah,
Okay.
Extreme Roller was a stand-up coaster at Worlds of Fun that was originally known as Scream Roller, which kind of operated as an Aero corkscrew type of deal. And then Aero tried to compete with the competitive stand-up coaster market at the time, trying
Yeah.
to be innovative, and so they put stand-up trains on this corkscrew type coaster.
It did not work out
It
at
did
all.
not work out. I feel like I remember reading there were injuries
Yeah.
and it just wasn't a good move,
I
and I
want
think
to
it only
say,
operated for a
uh,
couple years.
yeah, yeah, I want to say they only kept it as a stand-up coaster for, well, yeah, 1 or 2 seasons, and that was it.
Yeah, that was it because it really, I think, was messing up people's,
Yeah.
I'm sure, their necks. I mean, just imagine like standing up through a, now we know this today, standing up through like a corkscrew layout. That would be horrible.
Oh, it'd be awful.
Oh my
Jeez.
gosh. It'd be
Yeah.
terrible.
Yeah, Worlds of Fun, they have a pretty impressive historical lineup of coasters. Not that they're the best, but some first of its kind type of
Mm-hmm.
things, which is pretty cool for a park like Worlds of Fun, which doesn't really get a lot of attention necessarily.
Exactly. It's,
Hmm.
it's not necessarily the redheaded stepchild of Cedar Fair, but it's
Right.
definitely one that's often forgotten.
Yes. Yes.
And I can say redheaded stepchild because, your boy's a redhead. So
That's right.
everyone else, you don't get to say that.
I wouldn't dare.
No. That's how you unleash ginger wrath.
Another fun thing that I read about Orient Express. So in the queue, they actually had a chicken exit, like a famous exit
Oh, yeah, they
for
did.
people who are scared. You could get out of line in this chicken exit, and when they remove the ride, they move the chicken exit sign. You can see it in the Timberwolf ride station now.
Oh, you can. Okay.
Yes. So
Ah,
Nick has not been to Worlds of Fun.
no,
He's
I'm
going to be
going.
going next weekend.
Yep.
Look for that chicken exit sign on
Yeah.
Timberwolf. I
Yeah,
went to Worlds of
I'll
Fun like 3 years ago. Yeah.
okay. Yeah, I'm definitely excited. I mean,
Yeah.
growing up, I think I really learned about Worlds of Fun probably the year Orient Express stopped operating in 2003.
Yeah.
But I remember, getting promotional materials in the mail for Patriot,
Oh
and
yeah.
it just seems like a really cool park. It's a smaller park, obviously, but I'm still excited to go.
Yeah.
It seems really neat.
I think it's a great park. They have a really solid lineup of coasters. Patriot's great. Prowler's fun. Mamba's great.
Hmm.
Yeah, it's really good. I think you'll like it. It's a pretty park too. Not too big, but it's really, well themed. It's clean. It's nice ambiance. So yeah, I
Hmm.
mean, it's a good Cedar Fair park, I think, overall.
Yeah. We're and I'll be interested to compare that because here in a couple weeks, we're all gonna be the chain lift gang and yours truly. We're gonna be going to Valley Fair,
Oh yeah.
and we'll be able to kind of compare the two parks because we were just talking about how similar they seem. So
Yeah, it seems like Valley Fair, Worlds of Fun, and Dorney are all pretty similar in my mind.
yeah,
Like they
yeah,
all have well, Dorney does. I was gonna say they all have like a GCI wooden coaster.
yeah,
They have
right,
Mamba, and Wild Thing, and Steel Force are all pretty similar.
right.
They're similar size parks. I think most of them have a B&M invert except Valley Fair, but you have Talon and Patriot. Yeah, they're in a lot of ways they're similar. So I'm excited to go to Valley Fair for the first time and compare them to all the other kind of mid-tier Cedar Fair parks.
Right. Um, and the one thing that I've really appreciated since really kind of learning and delving into the history of defunct coasters is just how the common thread, either there's one active currently, or like in this case with Worlds of Fun, there's almost always some presence of an aero coaster at any given amusement park.
Yeah, that's true.
Sorry, that was my dog getting a drink very loudly. So,
That's all right.
and she's continuing.
Still
So,
going.
yeah, still going.
It's a hot
Thirsty,
day. It was a
thirsty.
hot day today.
A hot day, man.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. So if you were at a park today, we're really feeling for you.
Uh-huh.
But yes, I love that there's this common thread, kind of like this constant of some presence of an aero coaster at almost every American park. It seems like.
Yeah. Yeah, it's definitely cool. I always appreciate to see them. Even though I'm not always a big fan of the rides, I'll always ride and I always appreciate the history of the ride. So
Yes, we are credit chasers.
yes,
So, which reminds
absolutely.
me, go buy a pennant. We have
That's
them in
right.
our shop. Show off the fact that you're a credit chaser too. You know what? We ride those aero coasters and we like them for even if it's only one lap,
If it's one
and we
time,
never
yeah.
and we never re-ride them. We get those credits.
That's
And you know
right.
what? If you don't get those credits, you're chicken. So you could just
You
go ahead
can
and take that chicken exit.
use the chicken exit. That's right.
Yes. So you got to show off the fact that you're a real, true credit chaser boy
Yeah,
or
join the
girl
club
or
or
whatever
girl.
you are,
That's right. Or child, whatever. Old
whatever you
person.
are. Yeah.
So And also, when they removed it, they did keep the station up. You can still, if you go to Worlds of Fun,
Oh man, I didn't know that.
you can still see the station. They
Okay.
use it for their haunt attractions. They use it as a haunt, like a walkthrough haunt maze. So
Oh, okay. So the see, I didn't know that.
yeah. So as Nick said at the beginning of the podcast, this coaster was officially closed in October of 2003. With any of these kind of aero coasters, we kind of touched on why these are
Mm-hmm.
go defunct. This coaster in particular, it broke down often towards the end of its
Mm-hmm.
life. And then in 1999, the last two cars of one of the trains derailed close to the final brake run. The last two cars derailed, and it left riders stranded for a couple hours. It's a pretty
Yeah,
big problem.
not a good look.
No,
Worlds of Fun.
no.
Yeah.
I'm sure other reasons led to its removal. I'm sure it's just,
Yeah.
getting too expensive to keep up with, and just reached the end of its life. They
Mm-hmm.
did donate one of the lead cars to the National Roller Coaster Museum, which Nick and I are waiting for it to open because we'd like
Oh
to check it
man,
out.
we
Seems
will
like,
be there. Yeah.
yeah, it seems like they're kind of gearing up to open soon. They've had more of an online presence, posting photos and even posting some like progress photos of the facility that they house all these like coaster artifacts in. So it looks really cool, and I would love to see all this stuff in person. Even
Yes.
like the Orient Express sign, the name of the coaster is a little bit iffy. I'm not sure,
Yeah. Yeah.
a little
Yeah.
borderline, but the logo was really cool. The face of the dragon, it had kind of that vintage oriental feel.
Yeah. It had that kind of as somebody we're into tattoos. It
Yeah,
kind of almost had that. I don't know if they were going what specific Asian country theme they
yeah.
were going for, but it had that Japanese traditional tattoo kind
Hmm.
of look almost.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. I think it was cool, and I always appreciate these old coasters from the 80s. I'm a child of the 80s, so
Yes. Yes.
uh,
You are.
I am. Nick is a child of the 90s.
I am a child of the '90s.
Yeah,
I'm a youngie.
that's okay. Uh, uh, child of the 90s and red hair, two
And red hair.
strikes.
Yeah, two strikes against me. I got to play my cards right so I don't get three today.
Yeah. So, I mean, I would have liked to have ridden this coaster. Like I said, I watched the POV and it did look a bit rough, but it was cool looking. On the first lift hill, you got a nice view of the parking lot. Um,
Yes, yes.
and then it kind of curved around, and it kind of, the first drop, it looked like the area where the coaster was built was kind of overgrown a bit with trees. So it was pretty cool looking. Like you
Hmm.
weren't necessarily like going through the woods like on Beast, but there was trees near the track, and it felt almost jungle-ish or something. I don't know.
Yeah, oh, definitely. And to me, I guess for that time period, I guess you could say it was slightly, a little bit more themey than maybe most coasters
Yeah.
at smaller parks such as this. So I
Yeah.
definitely can appreciate that.
And I believe it had a tunnel as you left the station before the lift hill. I believe there was a tunnel,
Oh yeah,
which
I think so.
let's see, it featured it had an Orient Express sign, and I think it lit up, and this tunnel is supposed to be the house of the Orient Express dragon. So
Yes.
yeah, there was a story
Okay.
that went along with the ride, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, and I really appreciate that. It makes me think quite a bit of Demon actually,
Yeah.
because Demon kind of had that. If you've ever ridden Demon, you go through that tunnel before you go up the lift hill, and it's
Yeah.
got those glowing eyes looking at you, and
Yeah.
yeah, everything kind of had a backstory back then with these aero coasters. So I
Uh,
can really appreciate that.
and I always appreciate like that vintage charm of like the outdated theming. It's cool
Yes,
because
yes.
it's a vintage and it's retro, and yeah, I appreciate it. I think it's
Oh,
cool.
yeah, definitely.
As we usually do, we play the commercials that debuted with the ride,
Mm-hmm.
and they're usually fantastically awful,
Horrible. Yeah.
and these are no exception, but they're so horrible that they're kind of good. So
Exactly.
yeah, there's no jingles, unfortunately, in these two, but they're still pretty fun. So this first one I'm going to play, this is This was played on television in 1980. It was the commercial for Worlds of Fun. This is more of a commercial for the park. They do mention Orient Express, and then they mention some nice musical guests they have in the park. This will give us a little bit of a taste of what was happening at Worlds of Fun in 1980.
All right.
The daily summer season begins this Memorial Day weekend at Worlds of Fun with the Oak Ridge Boys.
That's right, the Oak Ridge Boys.
New York Daily, May 24th, 25th, and 26th. Plus, everything Worlds of Fun is famous for, including the new, awesome Orient Express. See the Oaks, the Orient Express, and
that's
all
right.
the rest.
See the Oaks and the Orient Express.
Worlds of Fun.
Risky lady.
It looks like a good time to me. I don't know about you, but
oh, absolutely. If I had been alive and in Kansas City at that point, you bet your bippers I would have been there opening day.
Yeah,
I would have definitely been there.
Oh yeah, for sure. Oh, and I will say too that I really liked the red track on Orient Express. It looked great, like the interlocking red loops. It was pretty cool looking.
Yeah, definitely. And you know, I've ridden Loch Ness obviously, and I really like it, but there's just something about that T3 Orient Express like double red color scheme that is just so cool to me.
It is. It's different. It really stands out, especially on a sunny day against the blue backdrop of the sky. It just really stands out. It's cool.
Yes, yeah, I agree.
So, then also in that commercial, it showed a brief kind of animation of the Orient Express logo, which was cool, and it was like breathing fire, and the fire turned into the words Orient Express. It was cool. I mean, I like the logo, and I do know that you can get. I think Homage is making. They make Orient Express shirts that you can get that features the logo. So
yes, yeah, they do.
Plug for them.
Yeah, we like Homage quite a bit, so they definitely check it out.
They make some cool stuff. So. All right, so this next video, this is actually a promo video from Aero Hust. They played this in 1981, it looks like. So I don't know if they would send this promo video to other parks to sell them on stuff, because this wouldn't have been like on TV as a commercial. Anyways, this was probably showed to owners of parks to get them kind of to introduce them to what Aero can do for their park. So this one's a bit cheesy, but it's
how we
good.
like it.
Yes. All right, here we go. Oh, it's also very dramatic. So
oh heck yeah,
buckle in.
Buckle in.
So we're seeing a video of the train going up the hill, but it's kind of in the shadows. The theming is cool though. It kind of has this Japanese tea garden feel.
I knew. It seemed strange. Thousands had been lured here before me in breathless wonder. You can't explain that feeling that draws you to the unknown. Unknown, but getting closer with each nervous step.
Okay, he's going through the tunnel now before the lift hill.
Oh yeah. So is it just a dark tunnel? Like there was no theming inside?
I thought there was. What I read in Wikipedia, there was a sign in there that was lit up.
Okay.
But I didn't see anything there. Oh, that's a nice bass riff.
Oh yeah.
Funky.
Oh, very 80s.
Yeah, the red looks great. They're going through the first loop. There. The transitions on this thing are awful too.
Oh, horrible.
Very much like Vortex. And then after the second loop, you go into that Kamikaze Curve.
Yeah, the
batwing, whatever. Yeah. Made it back.
135 seconds.
So dramatic.
To last forever.
Now they're showing slow motion shots of
and
the
it
ride.
begins with a 115-foot plunge. Over 3,400 feet of track, twisted into two 55-foot high loops.
Oh,
and then
55 foot.
more.
Wow.
The boomerang, devilish, breathtaking. With 3 28-passenger trains, it carries over 2,000 people an hour through the thrilling, twisting
Is that good? I
labyrinth
think
of
it's good.
Yeah.
Orient Express.
Wow.
I wonder if you could get very good views of this ride from the midway.
Yeah, I'm curious. It almost just seems like a parking lot coaster.
Yeah. They're riding it again. Some chick is riding it. Sorry, female woman. Yeah, I don't know what else is in this video other than them riding it. I'm sure that's really fun to listen to.
It's very. I love how dramatic it is.
Yeah. I could see though in the 80s how this would be really impressive though. Yeah, the theming is great. They just showed the station. The theming was carried out throughout. Yeah, I mean, in the 80s, that's a pretty impressive ride.
Yeah, I'd say like it was definitely state of the art. Obviously, the interlocking loops was a huge selling point. You could tell they really, emphasized that in the commercial, and they really made sure to emphasize that, I'm sure, with all of their advertising. But, I would have definitely ridden it again for the credit, but I can't imagine just by that POV, like it has to be so much like Vortex, and I just hated Vortex.
Yeah.
They're
they're rough coasters.
They are, and that's something that I hate seeing these vintage coasters go, but at the same time, it's like, man, make way for this innovation,
right.
like RMC and B&M and Mach and all these other huge, these innovative companies are doing stuff that can rightfully replace these things, and I love that.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see. Like, I'm kind of curious about coasters built in the 90s. That's when kind of B&M really exploded onto the scene. I'll be curious to see how those age out.
Yeah, and the fact that we have only seen one B&M in America get scrapped ever.
Yeah.
It's promising to me that they'll be around for a while, but and they probably have a little bit of a better lifespan than, say, an Arrow or
I would think
like
so. I would think so. Yeah, because if I'm trying to think of I've been on, let's see, it's Firebird now, which was Apocalypse,
and then Iron Wolf.
Yeah. That's the oldest B&M stand-up coaster, or which is floorless now. That was pretty smooth still. That's still a good ride. Batman at Great America Six Flags is still good, being the first B&M invert. So yeah, it seems like eventually we're going to get to a time when coasters won't necessarily need to be removed as much,
right,
because I think the technology has advanced so much. It's hard to imagine a day where rides like Millennium Force or Maverick are too uncomfortable to ride anymore.
Yeah, exactly. I think obviously that day will come, but the way that technology has advanced in the way that these more modern manufacturers such as Intamin, B&M, what have you, they have more access to the parts that they need because it was a lot more of an innovative design. So say, a lot of these coasters, the big thing you hear is it has reached its service life or whatever,
right.
Basically saying like, yeah, we can't keep affording to put this thing together.
Right.
So, you see Arrow, I'm assuming that's kind of the story with what happened with Orient Express. It reached the end of its service life. They couldn't keep just putting it together. But, I think it's a lot easier to fix more modern coasters, and I think it's only going to get better and easier. So
it seems like it.
Yeah, I would imagine anyway. I can only imagine that that's the goal for these manufacturers, right? Is to prolong the life of these multi-million-dollar machines. So.
Yeah, and probably that's the goal of the parks too when they purchase them. Is like, it's going to be a long-term investment.
Right.
I think that's about all there is to say about Orient Express.
Yeah.
Worlds of Fun. It's a great park. If you haven't been there, check it out. You can see the former station of Orient Express. You can get some I think even the park is starting to sell some vintage coaster stuff there, which I like. It seems like more parks are starting to like kind of catch on to like people like defunct coaster stuff. So I'm pretty sure they have started selling an Orient Express shirt at their store. So go to the park, definitely see some remnants of it being there once in the park. So
yes, I think that I'll definitely be picking up something this weekend.
That also reminds me, sorry. There's also in the Chain Lift web store, I designed a shirt for the Orient Express. I forgot about that.
You did.
Yes, so check that out. I think it's like $18. So
there you go.
Can go. It's the chainlift.com. You can see that shirt.
Yes, and as Airtime Misfits, we do not have Orient Express stuff, but
not
maybe
yet.
someday.
We should look into that. Yeah,
we'll definitely look into that. But with that said, we still do have some merch in our store, so be sure to check out airtimemisfits.com and look at our pennant, the Credit Chaser pennant I mentioned earlier.
Yep.
Got a few of those left. Got some candles. Got some logo shirts. Got some
enamel pins.
Yeah, we've got a little bit of everything, so be sure to check that out.
Yeah, that's airtimemisfits.com. Check that out. You can follow us on Twitter and Instagram at Airtime Misfit. Thanks so much for listening. Leave a comment if you feel like it. Leave a review if you're listening to this on iTunes or Spotify. That would be awesome. Thanks so much for listening to us, and we hope that you will check us out next time.
See you soon.